Everybody, welcome to review anything and everything. And today we're just taking a look at these two new bettas I bought. Now I'm not going to do the whole thing where I show them being put into the water right now. It's just not convenient for me to do that right now, but I will show you after I get them inside the water, you know, how everything is looking. But for right now, these are two just regular sorted ones, because bettas get expensive, especially when it's not guaranteed how they're going to do in the water. Don't mind if you hear some sound in the background. I had food cooking, but so just some basic ones. What's funny is that when you get some assorted bettas, you really gotta try to select the best ones that you can, because the assorted ones are the females, at least. Now, first of all, females are not going to be as colorful, so getting some that are like the one on the left is, you know, not very often, at least not the pet shops I go to. But in general, then also too, like I said, you really sometimes selecting from a small pool, and a lot of the females just are not going to be as, you know, large, colorful, or whatever the case is. So you try to pick the best ones you can. And this is from the assorted female price range and not the more expensive ones, because as you go up, people know that the tiers get very expensive. On another side note, the tank, I was mentioning earlier about the tank, and it's getting a little bit cloudy. So after, let me cut these lights off so you guys can see a little bit better. After talking with the guy at the fish store, what he told me was that this sounds like an issue of the algae not so much being on the sides, because I do brush that off. Every now and then I'll brush that off, but the algae is in the water. And it's very interesting, because I did in the past video where I spoke about putting the heater on that I just recently bought. I put the heater on, and what happened was I had noticed right away, it's like things were like falling off into the water or whatever the case is. I had dimmed the lights just now, so let me put them a little bit higher for the camera. And what I realized is that the algae in the water was actually reacting to the heat, but I didn't know what it was until after now speaking at the pet store with the guy at the pet store. And he said, what you can do is, the answer to that, without doing either some kind of crazy treatment thing, which he says he've heard of people who have a lot of algae in the water. It's not just on the sides of the glass, but it's in the water. He said that the real way to get rid of that is just not putting so much light on the plants. Unfortunately, I have plants inside the tank that also thrive off that. So what he said I could do, like kind of in between, is don't go cold turkey. Maybe put the lights on a little less, because sometimes I have the lights on for about a good 15, 16 hours inside the day. So he said, and I'll turn them off at like nighttime. So it might be 8 hours of no light. So he said what I could do is just try not to have the light on as much. So I might start reducing that to maybe about 4 hours a day to start, because I don't want to kill the plants. I just want to get the murkiness out of the water, and see what happens there. Because I was going to buy more fish, as I spoke to in the other video about like bottom feeder fish, algae eating fish. But there were these, I forget the name of them now, pocos or something like that. And you guys can correct me in the comments. I know I'm saying it wrong, but he said those grow pretty big, and that might even really be the solution, because he says normally he would recommend snails. And I told him I put over a couple of new snails from my other tank that's on the right hand side into this one. And he was pretty much telling me that snails should be enough. So he's like, if it's not, and my snails are actually growing really good now in this tank. I brought them over as little babies from the other tank on the side of it. They're growing really good now. They're getting bigger. They're growing very fast. Faster now even than the other tank, the smaller tank, because one, that's a smaller tank, and two, I think now with the heat going on here, which I only have for a day, it definitely feels like everything kind of sprouted up alive, more so, more active. He told me they should be doing a good job, so the issue shouldn't even be that. So I need to just put less lights on. So I'm going to try that and see how that works. Going to try to go for not having the lights on for an extended amount of time. So what I might do is, these lights have timers for 4 hours. I can do that, just put the 4 hours throughout the day, and then that's it. I do like when I'm here and watching it that it's lit up, but I can't get away with that. Especially, he says, when you have the LED UV lights, they're really, LED makes them even more efficient than, like, say, if they were just regular bulb lights, and that really makes it grow chaotically. So I'm gonna have to do that. Unfortunately, I just transplanted some jungle valve into this tank, in some of the bare spots where light can penetrate through, because before this was working as like almost an umbrella over everything, and I was really hoping to have that benefit of them grow, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to they're gonna have to try to deal with what little light they're gonna be able to deal with, because I'm gonna have to turn these lights off. So that's gonna be it, but stay tuned in a moment. I'm gonna put these fish in, and then we're gonna come back and we're just gonna kind of see them swimming around doing anything for a little bit, and kind of just comment on what we're looking at that given moment. So stay tuned. All right, you guys, we are back. We just got these fish inside there. Let me turn this other lamp off, see if that helps with the glare. Okay, a little bit. And sorry if that makes the lighting on the camera a little bit more challenging, but nonetheless, this is so you guys can see it a little bit better. So, once again, I really like the way the snails are thriving now. I think the warmer water really helped them to become more active, and they're gonna probably do a lot more work. The other tank doesn't feel as cold as this one was feeling. Not really too sure why. Or maybe it's just we're getting warmer in general, but. So anyway, the fish were dropped in. Right now they're hiding somewhere. They were in this area here. And so far they have not made contact with the male of the tank. So I only just have those two females now, and just that male that's always been in the tank for a little bit now. It's a blue one, blue with some white stripes. I did buy another female the other day. I don't think that it lived, but that was before I got the heater. So I think these ones should do a lot better because the water is warmer, so it's easier to get acclimated into the water. They were just here and now they vanished. Obviously one is blue and the other one is like blue with some red, like almost like a, I'm bad with the in-between colors, but some form of bluish, like an aqua bluish with like red, a little bit on the tips of the fins. And I don't see either. They were just here, and right when I started recording, they were gone. Okay, so there's one right there. Once again, I'm going to end up not having so many of the lights on in time to try to help with the algae problem, but hopefully they come up and you'll be able to see them. But they're there. For all I know, the other fish, to be honest with you, may have even survived too and just went to the back area. Usually they like to be in the front area, but it could be inside the back area. I haven't seen it since I bought it, which was, I want to say, under a week ago, or somewhere roughly in that time frame. But one thing I did see was the male swam down here before earlier in the day and was like rolling around the dirt down below, and it just seemed very active. So I took that as a good sign. So not really too sure. I think another issue too is the food. What am I looking at? I'm looking at something right now on the glass, and it looks like sometimes you get these kind of little worm things that are in there. I think they're natural for the environment, but these things right here. Yeah, they're definitely moving. You can see them on the camera that they're moving. I've seen stuff like that before. I remember looking it up before, and they classified it as some kind of common worm thing. I don't know if these are those, but yeah. I wonder if the snails actually eat those kind of things. Unless those are baby snails, because they did have eggs that were unhatched. I filled up the water recently, and then when I was scrubbing with the toothbrush some of the algae, some of those things came down. But they've been sitting there for a while, so maybe unhatched. And these are baby snails, like really tiny snails. It's not impossible. But anyway, so I still don't see the fish. Haven't come back to the foreground at this moment. But I am hoping so. I am hoping to be able to breed. I only want to do the 2 females. I could have bought more, but I realized from my experience, and now looking back at it, it could be the temperature of the tank could have caused this. But back when I had the first male, the father, along with his son, and the point in time, not when I had a bunch of males inside the tank, but I had the father, I had his son, which was now grown up, and I had this adult male now, just before the the other ones ended up not being in the picture anymore. None of them were breeding with the females, and there was at one point about like 3 or 4 females inside the tank, and nothing was happening for a long period of time. And I really do think that I'm looking at now, it could have been that the temperature of the water was cold. They were all living, so I didn't think anything of it. I never had to put my hand in the water anytime soon, so I didn't realize how cold it was until recently when I put the plants in. Other than that, I never realized how cold it was because I never had to put my hands inside the water. And then I just assumed it was room temperature because it's indoors, room temperature shouldn't be that cold. Maybe that could have been a reason. I always thought it just came from a stress aspect of that. Well, regardless of the temperatures, room temperature or whatever, they would breed when they were in a tank where it's just a male and a female in like a 10-gallon tank or smaller, even in this 5-gallon. Well, when I had a 5-gallon tank here, I keep forgetting that this tank on my right is a 10-gallon, but it used to be the 5-gallon. When it was a 5-gallon, I still had 2 I don't remember if they're successful, but they started the process, and they're doing the whole coupling thing, wrapping themselves around each other and whatnot, making the bubble nest. And so I feel a big aspect of making that happen, at least as far as captivity goes, is just having a male and a female together in a single tank without the stresses of having to deal with any other fish. And I almost feel like the reason why that is a stress, because the male after the fact is going to have to defend the female, defend the eggs afterwards from the females. So I don't know, but I've never been successful in this 20-gallon tank, but I've been successful in the 10-gallon tank twice, and it was just a male and a female together alone. So I'm trying to replicate that again, but this time I bought 2 because I didn't want one of them to die, and then the other one is then, he's here alone for a minute. And I feel like with this size of tank, it shouldn't be as big of a deal. I actually can see the fish now inside the far back, but she is very far back there. Going over here, you're not going to be able to see it that well. Let me zoom in and see if we can see it a little better. Right there. That's one of the newer ones. And I don't know why they're choosing to hang into the background of the tank. Let me move the lights a little closer to the front and see if that attracts them to come this way. You know what I will do? I'll put some food in here and see if that gets them coming. And put that closer to the front and see if they end up wanting to come. I do got to cut down on some of this food inside the tank because it definitely is not making things better for the algae problem, I'm sure. Especially since for a while, I was putting food in the tank for the larger pack when I had a larger pack, but I didn't have that anymore. But I got used to doing it just in case if I couldn't see some of the fish and they were somewhere in the background. I also had 2 frogs here. Now I see one of those frogs still. I don't know if I see the other one because I don't see 2 at the same time anymore. But I know I do see one of the frogs, so I try to make sure to feed him as well. Let's see what we got here. So there goes the male off to the side there. And he's eating, but I think he knows that there's other fish in the environment now, so he's kind of gonna try to probably make his territory. When I put the other fish in there before the other day, he was swimming around the other fish, but then all of a sudden I just seen him coming to the front and I don't see that fish anymore. So like I said, I don't think that fish made it. Don't think that fish made it. but I'm not seeing any of these other fish. I was hoping we'd be able to see them a bit as they swam around, but I'm not seeing them. So we're probably gonna check back with that. I don't want to hold you guys too long in this space of not being able to see anything. Once again, we got the male is over here. You could see him right over there now. There he goes. And that's kind of the area he likes to stay around. The heater is in the back there, in the same spot, but in the back. And he was hanging around the heater for a little bit of time. So he's kind of got comfortable with it, being very close to it. So I'm guessing it doesn't get that hot that it burns him or anything like that. But he's really definitely becoming a lot more lively. But I think also too, another aspect of that might be the fact that once I introduced a new fish, even when he couldn't see that fish anymore, just knowing that there are other fish here may have caused him to become more active. But the other fish are into the back right now, and I wish I could see the back, but I can't. So yeah, you guys, there he goes again, the new king of the tank. It was surprising that that was even the case, because when he took over, you still had the old king who was getting old at that point. So that's probably why he didn't dominate. And his son, who still was young. So I don't understand why, but nonetheless, I think that I really don't know why they both died and this one survived. And then all the females died out and this one still survived. So I'm not really too sure why. Now, the other ones were around in the tank for a little while. I wouldn't say all of them were like super old. The head male was over 2 years old at that point, but the other ones were maybe just under or just at 2 years old. They can go from 2 to 5. So, I mean, it could have just been anything, but surprising that this one, I didn't have him as long, but so maybe that's it. But I still wouldn't have figured him to, I think he's about a year old now, maybe. I wouldn't have figured him to be, that the other ones would die and you know, he survived, but that was the case. So once again, you guys, not to keep rambling on, so I'm gonna cut this in a second, but I will be on the lookout for those other fish and see how they're doing, if they stick around. I am going to, like I said, stop putting the lights on for a while. I'm gonna have to really kind of cut back on that, so maybe I'll only put it on when I am, you know, just in the mood to watch what's going on, or maybe if I'm doing some videos, I want to put them in the background. Other than that, that will probably be about it. I'm noticing something that looks like another kind of worm thing. Let me see if I can get this on screen. I'm not seeing it right now. It's very slim, but it looked like it was moving. Unless, I don't know, sometimes it's funny, you could look at the water and when you got a lot of green and you got like nature in the water, you start seeing things that are just moving around sometimes. It's very interesting. So like I was saying to you guys, yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep an eye out to see some things. I'm gonna dim the lights. I'm gonna let that try to knock some of these things out, even though I'm really worried because I just brought over some new plants, like I said, from the other tank, and I really wanted them to grow. And now I gotta try to like calm these lights down. So we're gonna see how that works, you guys, and I will keep you guys updated. As always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video.